summer Palmer Station on the peninsula. We couldn't quite see it, there were some islands between it and us, and Amundsen Scott, South Pole. The Russian former Soviet station, Zezmerny. I rather like the one where the medical officer one winter in Merny had to get his own appendix out. There were 3 men in the theatre: the surgeon, the man used to most cutting meat, the cook, and the photographer. There's a very good article in the British Medical Journal about that. One could regret there's no colour photography, but ladies and gentlemen, some audiences prefer these ones in black and white. There is, as with many stations, a big cemetery for the Soviets, and Vostok, the interior one, near the South Geomagnetic Pole. US had South Geographic Pole, Soviet got South Geomagnetic Pole, which was quite convenient, doing a major amount of drilling. British stations rather far south, Signey Island on the South Orkney Islands, now summer only. Some of the stations built in or on ice. In my days, Halley 3, you had to go down 20 meters underneath the snow. Now Halley 5 is on stilts and Halley 6 is moving. So the logistics and difficulties of life there do mean there's much cooperation. Showa from Japan goes back to 56. Sunny 4, the new one, built 200 kilometers inland. The present South African station. Dumonteville, the old French one, Dudu claimed it. And Orcales, Argentina, the oldest continuous laboratory there. The first building there is now a stony ruin, but in 1907 a base hut was put there, very nicely built, and that's still there. That's the base museum. So, the scientific side, the cooperation, the negotiation, along came the treaty. Here it is, made in 1959, and those 12 countries, including all the claimant states, except for Ecuador yet, signed it. We're all basically equal there. It came into force in 1961. There's 14 articles of it, but the 4th article, nothing in this treaty shall be a renunciation of asserted rights of territorial sovereignty. Nothing will be a diminution of any basis of claim. Nothing will prejudice any claim. No acts of sovereignty are valid whilst the treaty is in force. Thus, so much of the theoretical side of territorial claims by the countries that are signatories to it are a suspension, I dare say, put in ice. 60 degrees south, but that doesn't apply to the Southern Ocean, where the rights of navigation on the high seas are effectively the same. These days, 54 countries are members of the treaty. Those in bold are territorial claimants. Those underlined are the original signatories. There's a few strange ones. How did Papua New Guinea become a member of the Antarctic Treaty? Well, it was the dependency of Australia in 1961. And when it became independent in 1975, it acceded to all the treaties Australia had signed on its behalf. There's a few other explanations that are a little strange like that, because not everybody would expect Mongolia to be there, but Monaco has a major hydrographic institution. So there we are. The members of the Antarctic Treaty, full voting rights, are the red ones. The other acceding states are the yellow ones. And notice Africa's a bit short, South America is very well off, Australasia, of course, is entire, and much of the European exploration historically is demonstrated by that map. Now, this winter, those countries have polar stations. Some are on the entire continent. Most, because of its accessibility, are up and down the Antarctic Peninsula. That has advantages and some difficulties. If you look at King George Island, where we went into the middle of Admiralty Bay, there's quite a lot of stations. Here they are, all indicated by arrows. I've got the same map where I put their names on too. It is the most accessible place in one respect. The Chilenes have a runway in their station and flights can get to and from Punta Arenas to King George Island. But look, what an amount of duplication. All of these countries with meteorological observatories doing similar work. Ladies and gentlemen, perhaps I'm a hopeless old cynic. For some of these countries, I think they regard the flagpole as more important than the scientists. The present division of the continent? There we are. There are the 7 well-known ones and 8 including Ecuador, which is a later one. Australia has 2 sections divided by France. But ladies and gentlemen, we have a mystery. Between the Ross Dependency and perhaps the Ecuadorian territory, there's a who knows what. I think I've got the right flag up there, haven't I? It's quite a large area. That was the area originally left with the claims of Byrd and Ellsworth. The United States has not claimed it. It has the basis of a claim, and in no sense has that basis been repudiated. Also, it's one of the least accessible bits of the Antarctic, the peninsula being the most accessible, and hence having the most number of stations. The South Pole, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Argentina, Australia with 2, all of those countries, and the indefinite sector. If you count them up, there's 10 of them. Australia obviously counts 2 with the 2 sectors, and we'll count the unknown territory as 1. If you're at the South Pole, around the ceremonial pole, there's the Barber's Pole, with the chrome sphere on top. There's the 12 flags of the original signatories of the Antarctic Treaty. In an early lecture, I put a challenge to you, ladies and gentlemen. From the days in 1959, those 12 flags, 3 are now different. I'll be in the seminar room later on and you can decide which 3. Now, if you're standing at the South Pole, as you can, at a price, with a civilian aircraft, then just imagine you've got the pole standing here, and you've got a bit of rope, let's say about 25 meters long. You put it on the pole, and you tie it around your waist, and you start to walk in a circle. This is something that was done roughly like this in 1957, when the Commonwealth Trans-Antarctic Expedition was there. And they had a radio announcer who was commenting a little bit like a horse race. I'll try to do the same. If we start at the 0 meridian, we're in Norway, and you start running quickly round, going in the circle till you trip over into Australia, racing through the Australian sector until you get a couple of footprints alone in France and back into Australia. Then you come to the Ross Dependency and New Zealand, and you're racing through New Zealand until you come to nowhere at all. Then you just step into Ecuador. A few steps later you're into Chile, then out of Ecuador, still in Chile, till you're into Britain again. Then with Chile underneath you also, you reach another map, and you're in the ABC, still in Chile, just got into Britain, now reached Argentina, where you go for a little further until you run out of Chile, and you're in Britain and Argentina, out of Argentina, into Britain again, and back to Norway.
Woo! Yeah.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be in the seminar room for questions.